Um, Welcome back. Our next step is to do something with what was submitted from this form that we created earlier, created a registration form. So now we want to submit this data that was sent from the form into our database. And here is what we are going to be doing. I already mentioned in our previous tutorials that we are going to be using a file system. We're not going to be using any traditional database like MySQL or MongoDB or anything like that. I'm going to be sticking with just files for now so that you can truly understand what it means to save things in database and not be restricted to any type of technology. The concept is what we are trying to pass across. If you understand the concept of putting things into a file, fetching from that file, it might be easier to understand how databases work when it is time to start using them. So what we are going to be doing is to create a subfolder in here, call it users. So this is going to represent users that register on this platform because we might still be saving other things like patient record and so on and so forth. What we can also do is to divide these users into two different folders and say staff, and then the other one is going to be patients. So you could also do that on your own, but for now I'm just going to be showing you how to simply save into a single file. So let's explain what we're going to be doing. Basically, we want to collect what was submitted. We want to generate ID for them. We want to also save their data in the DB, which is our file, our folder, and then we want to use a unique identity to save them. Now, normally in a normal database, the ID or UUID, of course, you can look that up, but just know that it's basically an identification for the user. The ID is auto-generated and auto-changes or auto-increases. UUID does not increase, just changes, but the normal ID increases. So it starts from 1, goes to 2, 3, 4. As many users as you get, it keeps increasing that way. So we are going to be mimicking that behavior in our database in a minute. So after that, after being able to generate the ID, we need to save them into the database. To save them, we need it to be unique. So what we are going to be doing is to save the file with their first name plus their last name and then their ID. So this way, there is no other person in our database that has the same exact uh, file name for them. So it's going to be unique just to them. In fact, you can go ahead and add other things to it, maybe their email or something like that. But firstly, let's collect all of our information that was submitted here. So let's break it down. We're going to be collecting the data. We're going to be verifying the data, which is basically just doing what is called validation of the data. And then we are going to be saving the data into the database, or in our case, in our folder. After that, we'll return back to the page with a status message. Okay, so we are going to be collecting what was submitted from the form. But from the form, we also need to do some form of validation. And since we already said all fields are required, we can as well just do this and do this basic validation on our form here. Is it required or required? It's required. Pardon. Required. This is also required. We need to know your gender. This is obviously required. And I just noticed a problem here because the default value right now is medical team. So to avoid people just randomly selecting medical team, because users are weird sometimes, I'm going to just change this to select one and then change this to assign a value to this and say it's an empty. So when we get here, we can check if it is empty, then return back a message that says it cannot be empty. Right, so moving on, let's add a required value here. Required, and that's all. This should also be required, obviously. Yeah, it's required already. Okay, they should also change this so they don't just select the first thing that comes to their mind and then come back to complain to you why their gender is displayed as female instead of male. Right, so let's say select one and copy this. It's not that much, but I'm going to copy anyway. So we've done some small validation on our form here. Right here too, let's just collect everything. Let's say first name. It's going to be, I told you this is an array, and then to get the first name from the array, we do this. So we are getting the first name using the name of this field. If you studied the material I gave you an array, this material here, you will definitely understand what I'm doing now because I'm just using the name of that field. The field has a name, so I'm using that name to fetch this value. Right, so I'm going to do that same thing for all of them to make it quicker. I'm going to be looking at it from here so I can see it from there. So it's last name, copy this and put here, copy and paste, and then I have, well, I can't see it well. Let's see. Um, don't forget to subscribe. If you have any questions, you can always drop comments or reach out to us in other ways. So the next thing is my email, and after that, I have password. I have password. After password, I have gender. I have gender, and then I have designation. Designation. And then I have, what else do I have? I have department, and that's all. Department. So we've been able to collect everything that was sent. Now we have it as variables here. It's not really compulsory to do this, but we are doing it anyway. So what do we need to do to validate our form? Of course, we already said that everything is compulsory. We've already added some basic HTML validation to our form, which means normally they should not be able to move ahead without filling the field. But there is a way to skip this. I can go to inspect and change this to allow me to go on. Let me just show you. So I'm going to locate this form, which is this one right here, and say remove the required field. If I remove it here, it means I cannot submit the form. Well, it should throw an error for this, not this. If I remove the required from here, I can easily submit the form, which is why I mentioned in a previous video that this HTML validation is not enough. You have to still do all other types of validation. You could have done JavaScript validation, which we are still going to be doing, some JavaScript validation. But for now, let's just stick with this. So what do we need to do? We need to check if any of the things that were sent is empty. If this is empty, I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to call it error array. I'm going to make it an array so that we can send out the proper message to the user. And I'm going to say if this is empty, then add something to this array. Error array to be equal to first name cannot be empty. So what we are doing here is to create a check for our first name to see if it is empty. So let me try it now. I'm going to try to submit this form. I'm going to fill the rest, leave this empty. Of course, I need to print this out. Print my error array. So we'll see the error message. I'm going to select a gender. I'm going to select something. I'm going to select something and submit. So it says first name cannot be blank, cannot be empty. Let's use blank. That sounds a little better. So we've been able to do a basic check on this form. Now you can do the same thing for all of them. Of course, there is a way to also minimize the lines of code you type. I'm still going to be showing you how to do that. Well, you should go ahead now and do this for all the fields and make sure that everything is filled before we can move on to the next stage. In our next video, I'm going to be showing you what I've done with mine and how easy it is to minimize the lines of code you type when you are validating things like this.